allow me to live authentically. And that's been the biggest thing for me, leaving the Mormon faith, which only happened about um, two, almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
About 3 years ago, I made the official decision. I remember just years of this, years of questioning and not fitting in. I think that was my biggest thing is that I always felt like this just isn't working for me. This just doesn't fit in. My ex, on the other hand, he presented really well in the Mormon faith and it
Yeah.
seemed to work for him and his family, it worked for them. And even for my sister, from what I saw, it just worked. And for me, no matter how hard I tried, I felt this just does not fit. And there were little things along the way also. Like I could never understand why my grandma, who I told you was like the sweetest woman, but because she was a Roman Catholic, why she wasn't going to be going to the same heaven as we were because she
Right.
wasn't a member of the faith. And I was like, but she's so much nicer. She's so much better
Wow.
than my mom and dad. And so it was like the mental gymnastics that I had to do in my head just didn't compute for a long time. And also because I did travel the world and I did go to different areas, I was like, I met people and I saw people and I was
Yeah.
like, how are these people not going to be in God's graces the same way as a Mormon would? And honestly, here was the biggest thing. This was the biggest catalyst for me. So, the Mormon faith, one thing that we can get into in this episode is the Mormon faith only integrated Black and white people in 1978. So,
Yeah.
we are talking just a few years before I was born.
Oh.
And to me, I always was told, yes, that was for a reason, for a time. We don't talk about it, don't look into it or whatever. I have a black son. I have a black son that is coming of age. And in the Mormon faith, when you turn 11, 12 years of age, you get what's called the priesthood if you are a male.
Hmm.
Now, part of this issue was that in up until 1978, black people could not have the priesthood. Not only could they not have the priesthood, but they also could not be sealed as families. And again, the
Wow.
sealing is like the ultimate pinnacle of achievement. You want to be
Wow.
sealed as 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 a family. And so here I have this son who's black and who is becoming a young man and has questions. And I don't know the answers to these questions. I better educate myself on why the Mormon faith did not allow black people. And when you start to read the actual language that the prophets were using towards black people, that's when the cognitive dissonance was very strong because
Right.
it would describe, we would have these leaders that were supposed to be talking for God, basically describing black people as flat nosed, ugly, unintelligent. And I've had this little baby since he was 6 hours old. You're very handsome, Evans. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
I'm looking at my
You're
flat
just fine.
nose
You're
and
just
my
fine.
ugly face. Yeah.
No, no, no. Exactly. Which are all, they are all signs of your lack of intelligence. Therefore, you needed to be subjugated. You needed to be a slave. You needed to be lesser than because
Mm.
you are this way. You have the stain of Cain. And so, but I've had this baby that I've raised since he was 6 hours old, and I didn't see any of that. In fact, I would argue he sometimes astounds me at how smart he is. He's smarter. I mean, hopefully he doesn't let this go to his head, but sometimes he's smarter than his mother. And he is an amazing person. And that just, I was like, mm-mm, no. And so then what did I do after basically pulling that apart? I did it with gays and homosexuals and the LGBTQ community. I really struggled growing up
Mm.
with